Imagine sitting at home on election night, watching the results come in. The country is on edge, just like every election. Slowly, the votes are counted, state by state, until finally the announcement is made. The United States has elected its first Muslim president. For some, this news sparks celebration, a sign of progress and inclusivity in a nation built on diversity. For others, it's met with shock, disbelief, or even concern. What would happen next? Let's walk through what this moment might feel like and the changes it could bring. The first Muslim president. Picture the inauguration day. The streets of Washington, D.C. are packed with people from all walks of life. Some hold signs that say, "Diversity wins," or "One nation for all." Others stand silently, arms crossed, unsure of what to think about this historic moment. The newly elected president, let's call them President Amina Ali, steps onto the stage to take the oath of office. Instead of placing their hand on a Bible, they swear on a Quran. For some, this moment is deeply moving, a reflection of the religious freedom America promises. For others, it's a jarring break from tradition. President Ali's first speech is calm and composed. They speak about unity, about how America's strength lies in its diversity. They promise to lead with fairness and compassion, emphasizing that their presidency is not about religion, but about serving the people. Today, they might say, we stand united, not as a divided people of different faiths, but as one nation committed to justice, equality, and peace. The crowd reacts as you'd expect. Cheers from supporters, polite applause from skeptics, and grumbles from critics. Social media lights up instantly. What changes might happen? Once President Ali takes office, the real work begins. And while a Muslim president wouldn't turn the U.S. into a religious state, the Constitution wouldn't allow it. Their leadership would naturally bring some cultural and symbolic shifts. One of their first moves might be to propose making Eid al-Fitr a federal holiday. For Muslims across the country, this would be a huge moment of recognition. Imagine kids getting a day off school and offices closing to honor a holiday that millions of Americans already celebrate. But not everyone would be on board. Some might argue that adding more holidays is unnecessary or even disruptive. Debates would unfold on talk shows and social media. Is this a step forward for inclusivity, or is it un-American? Supporters would likely point out that Christmas and Thanksgiving have religious or cultural roots, so why not acknowledge Eid as well? Another noticeable change could be the White House itself. Every administration brings its personality to the executive mansion. During Ramadan, the White House might host an iftar dinner, a meal to break the daily fast observed by Muslims. This tradition already exists in some form, as past presidents have hosted iftar events. But under a Muslim president, it could take on a new prominence. Diplomats, community leaders, and even celebrities might be invited to these dinners, turning them into moments of celebration and cultural exchange. For many Americans, these changes might feel fresh and exciting. For others, they might feel unsettling or even threatening. Late-night comedians would undoubtedly find plenty of material. Imagine the jokes about the White House swapping out Christmas trees for crescent moons, even though it wouldn't happen. The mix of humor, celebration, and criticism would become part of the national conversation. Reactions would vary widely depending on where you look. In major cities, there would likely be widespread support. Diverse communities would embrace the changes, seeing them as long overdue acknowledgments of America's multicultural identity. Social media would be filled with posts celebrating the new president, with people from all backgrounds sharing messages of hope and solidarity. But in other parts of the country, the mood might be different. Some Americans unfamiliar with Islam or wary of its growing visibility might feel uneasy. Misconceptions could fuel fears about what a Muslim president might mean for the country. Some might worry unnecessarily about the imposition of Islamic practices or laws. Others might feel that this presidency marks a shift away from the traditions they hold dear. You can already picture the protests, can't you? Groups gathering in small towns with signs like, Keep America American or No Sharia here. Conservative commentators would have a field day, questioning every decision the president makes through a religious lens, even if those decisions have nothing to do with faith. Meanwhile, progressives would rally in support, arguing that this presidency is a much-needed step toward equality. Under this new leadership, everyday life in America might subtly shift. Schools, for instance, might start teaching more about Islam in history and social studies classes, not as a promotion of the religion, but as a way to foster understanding. Public spaces like airports and malls might introduce more prayer rooms, accommodating not just Muslims, but people of all faiths. During Ramadan, you might notice small but meaningful changes. Some businesses could offer flexible work hours to accommodate fasting employees. Sports leagues might adjust schedules to allow for evening games that don't clash with prayer times. Imagine watching an NBA game and seeing players pause to break their fast with dates and water on the sidelines. For some, these changes would feel inclusive and forward-thinking. For others, they might feel like an overreach, even though they wouldn't affect most people's daily lives. Retailers would almost certainly jump on the bandwagon. Just like Christmas has its decorations and promotions, you might see stores rolling out Eid-themed merchandise. Target and Walmart could introduce Eid gift sets, and Starbucks might launch a limited edition halal pumpkin spice latte. These commercial touches would blend Islamic traditions with the familiar consumerism of American culture, making Eid a little more mainstream each year. A global shift. The impact of a Muslim president wouldn't be confined to the US. It would ripple across the world. Muslim-majority countries might see this as a groundbreaking moment, proof that America is truly living up to its ideals of equality and inclusion. Diplomatic relations could improve, especially in areas where trust has been fragile. Imagine the US playing a key role in brokering peace in the Middle East, with the president's unique perspective helping to bridge divides. But not everyone would view this positively. Authoritarian regimes might feel threatened, worried that the election of a Muslim leader in the US could inspire calls for change in their own countries. Meanwhile, rivals like Russia and China might use the moment to push propaganda, painting the US as weak or divided. At its core, the election of a Muslim president would spark a national reckoning. It would force Americans to confront their own biases and beliefs about what it means to lead. For some, it would reaffirm the idea that America is a place where anyone, regardless of race or religion, can achieve their dreams. For others, it might feel like a step too far, a break from traditions they hold sacred. In reality, a Muslim president would likely govern much like any other leader, focused on the economy, healthcare, education, and foreign policy. Their religion might shape their values, but it wouldn't dictate their decisions. They'd still face the same political gridlock, the same scrutiny from the media, and the same pressures to deliver on campaign promises. What's clear is that such a presidency would challenge stereotypes and spark conversations that America desperately needs. It would test the nation's ability to live up to its ideals of freedom and equality, showing the world what true democracy looks like. Whether the country would embrace this moment or struggle to adapt is a question only time can answer. But one thing is certain: the election of a Muslim president would be more than just a political milestone. It would be a reflection of America's ongoing journey, messy, complicated, but always striving toward a more perfect union.